Welcome everybody to the latest installment of Bleeding Green Nation's Bird Word of the Day. I'm your host Jordan Raanan, and today's word of the day is Bannerless. Now we all know what that means by now. Joe Banner is out as Eagles team president. And really think about it, it doesn't matter how you slice it, quit, fired, pushed out the door, resigned, rendered himself useless as I believe over the last couple of years. It's irrelevant. Only thing that matters now is what does it mean for the Eagles organization now and into the future? And what I see are three major repercussions. With the first, not going to be liked by the Andy haters very much. This opens the door even more for him to slide into the front office in a year or two, as long as they have some success in the next year or two and he doesn't get fired as head coach. And they should, because there's a very strong roster. I mean, this team should have success this year. So I see Andy much more likely now moving into that front office. If Joe is still there, they'd be stepping on each other's toes. They've had their big arguments in the past. Much less likely to happen if Joe is there. Now, Andy's future looks like it's in the front office. It looks like he might be able to squeeze his guy in there as the head coach, maybe a Marty Morningwig. Maybe new secondary coach Todd Bowles, go into the front office, handle personnel with Howie and football operations. They'll have them work together. It makes perfect sense now. I could definitely see that happening. Number two, major repercussion, is general manager Howie Roseman gains more responsibility. He was already the chief negotiator. He was already in charge of the salary cap, but Joe Banner was there to give his 2 cents and to oversee. Now, he's there no longer. Howie is running the show with his underlings, helping him out. Probably not a bad thing. Howie's done a great job constructing this roster over the last 2 years. You saw the way he negotiated the Deshaun Jackson deal, which was a very tough deal to work out. You saw the way he made the trade for D'Amico Ryans. Can't complain about that move. See Howie gain more responsibility? Definitely seems like a good thing at this point. Number three major repercussion, the change in philosophy the organization is going to have. Now, there's not going to be much change if you think about it, because Andy's already had final say on personnel. Howie is a Joe Banner protege, was brought up on a lot of the same tenets that Banner used. Not much is going to change in that regard. But the one thing that will change is the organization is going to have a little softer approach, meaning the hard negotiations, the pushing guys out the door so quickly when the play starts to slip a little bit, they might be a little softer in that regard. I mean, Joe Banner played the bad cop, and he played it well. We all know that. He was known as the heartless SOB that pushed players out the door when they started to get older, who penny pinched every single contract. But the flip side is, who's going to do that now when the Eagles need it? Who in 2 years when Michael Vick is 34, 2-3 years when Vick is 34, 35, and his physical skills start eroding, who's going to be the one that pushes him out the door? I mean, we know the high regard that he's held with his fellow players in the locker room. I mean, the LaShawn McCoys, Deshaun Jacksons, Jeremy Maclin, these are the kind of guys that look up to Michael Vick. They grew up almost idolizing Michael Vick. So when the time comes to get rid of guys like that, who's going to do it when Joe Banner is not around? Who's going to negotiate with Jeremy Maclin, who's making less than $1 million this year, when his contract's up in 2 years and he wants a ton of money? Who's going to hardball him? That's a big question the Eagles have now that Joe Banner is out of the picture. You're watching Bleeding Green Nation's Bird Word of the Day. See you next time.